Hey everybody, Shay here. I want to talk a little bit about Attack on Titan. I ended up reading a few volumes back to back. I got a little bit anxious, and the numbers on the vlogs are not doing amazing. And I know it's mostly my fault because I switched them from channel to channel on that episode 9, volume 9 episode. So lost some people along the way, and YouTube algorithm recommendation system is not finding them again, and that's okay. We're going to move on. I got a lot of books behind me, as you can tell, that I would still like to read, and we'll see if we can pick this back up. And at least, I do want to get through the series this month. And so I'm trying to read at least 4 volumes at a time before I can talk about them. So without further ado, I ended up reading volumes 15 to 18. I won't be going page by page with these ones because that would take me forever. But I can highlight some of the pieces that stood out to me, of course. So let me talk holistically first about these 4 volumes. Okay, it's at the high level. Very little Titan action, but a lot of exposition around the lore, the world building, and whatnot, possibly setting up the pieces that are going to push us into the second half of the series. In the narrative analysis perspective, as when I read these, I kind of think about that along the way, is that I think about the entire series as a 4-phase structure as well, right? So getting to the midway point here of volume 18, more or less, right, is that we are in that phase 2 ending point, right, which is going to have a pinnacle point. So a lot of exposition given in that phase 2 point, which would have been episodes 9 to 16, let's say. Am I doing the numbers right? Yeah, 34 volumes in the series. That's 17, every 17 again. So every 8 to 9 volumes is where we're going to be ending one of the phases in the entire series. So I can review and talk about these from that perspective as well. It gives me somewhere to, like, a foundation to build on. And so what I expect up to volume 18 is that midway point of the series. So in the phase 2, like I said, there's the exposition part. So that was to the T. There was a lot of information between characters here, stuff with the city. There's, of course, like they were trying to take out the government. So there was like a lot of just machinations, a lot of character challenges because they were no longer going to be killing Titans. They're going to be killing humans in order to pull this strategy off with Erwin's big chess move strategy. So considering that story foundation as a perspective, as a starting point, what I expect to see at the midway point is something that is a victory, but it actually triggers a potential defeat, or the fact that it's not the victory you think it is because something's going to pivot around and then it's going to launch you into phase 3, which is all about not rediscovering what what the threats are you get to discover what the threats are, which we got by the volume 17, 18, right? We know there's the bigger stakes, like way bigger stakes. And that's usually what that phase 3 is all about. You have to go through the whole, okay, now I know way more details than I thought were out there, whether that's Eren or the squad, etc. Like everyone got some new pieces about the history of the Titans, and the whole key comes back up. So the secret weapon, if you will, of the entire series has come back up, and that's a phase 3 element that's going to come into play, which I do really feel like it starts to pop off in the volume 18. You really get seated like, okay, this is probably what we're going to be uncovering next, right? We're going to be going to that basement and figuring out what the next steps are in regards to Eren's father and how he plays a role in this bigger scheme of things, because man, a lot of, again, reveals in that volume 17 phase. We'll get to it. I'll get more granular with each of the volumes as I get through this. Like, from a series narrative pattern perspective, it did what it needed to do in this chunk of volumes. I just feel like it slowed everything down, but again, from the context of the entire series, it feels like it needed to do what it needed to do, and so I couldn't fault it for that. So, big summary on the reviews here is each of these got a 4, I believe. I don't think any of them got a 5 for a reason, which maybe hopefully I'll remember as I start to talk this through. But none of them got a 5, and it's mostly because the action ground to a halt. So I got some notes here to help me because it's been a while, so I just took some notes. So you got my thoughts on volume 14. That was recently uploaded. Volume 15, this is where the escalation of the rebellion takes place against the royal government. Survey Corps executes a plan to save Eren and Historia by the military police. Levi and the squad infiltrate Trost at this point, and they engage in a brutal battle between the anti-personnel squad, and that's led by a new character that got introduced to us, Kenny the Ripper, which I guess it's worth pointing out, something does get spoiled, unfortunately, right here, and I just call it out right now. You see that box right there? See that box right there where it says Kenny Ackerman? Why did you put that on that first page? That's literally, you don't know the last name until this volume. So that really shouldn't have happened in the volume 15. They should have put that in the volume 16. I'll talk about that because that was unfortunate, because I was like, oh my god. Right? So like that spoiler, because the way it was presented in the story, it was like an oh shit moment, because you still don't know. Is it, who is that though? Because the parents, Mikasa's parents got killed, and so I got a little bit confused there. I'm like, well, it's gonna be something else, right? It has to be something else, because the parents got killed, unless they didn't get killed, in which it was a rigmarole. So but having known that he was an Ackerman, kind of, it was unfortunate kind of having learned that on the flip of the page, because I always look at those pages. I don't know why, but I like to read the names and see. Just, I don't know what I do. I do the summary thing there. And it's back to my notes. So Erwin, kind of the whole chess maneuver there is that he works with Commander Pixis and Darius Zackley in order to undermine the monarchy's authority and pull this off. Was this the volume where the really nasty, like when the whole event happens and they actually take over, they do the coup here? This is his big play here where he could get killed. Erwin could get taken out here if this play does not go right. Manages to pull it off. And is this the part where the whole torture scene happens? Because that was nasty. No, it wasn't. It was next volume. You get the exactly. I'll talk about that next volume. This was the big moment. The tail end reveal here, the fourth phase of this volume, was pretty crazy. So the undisclosed location that they take Historia and Eren to, and Eren is bound. And basically, you learn the whole history between Historia and her father, and this whole. It's a little, I was gonna say chunky, but not in a good way. It was simple to understand when you could wrap your head around it, but the exposition around the why they needed to eat titans, people who could turn into titans, because then you inherit the powers, but there was something tied to the bloodline. In Historia, her whole family was lost, right? But Eren's father ended up basically stealing the power, and that introduces a really crazy rigmarole. Potential for chaos. This is also where you learn about Ymir being part of it, and man, as it was such a massive handoff between characters, between the father, Rod, and it's Rod, because kind of close to God, and the whole thing is like you get the power and you're kind of like, this is the power of God. And maybe, I don't know if that's volume 15 or 16 now, it's all blurring, but the idea there was like, I see what they're doing with it, but it was done done both too quickly possibly and the exposition was maybe too convoluted. It felt convoluted even though it wasn't supposed to be. It was relatively simple when you just streamlined it, but it was a whole chapter worth of this kind of exposition because it's the drama behind of this exposition hitting Historia, and Historia is basically getting kind of manipulated, I suppose, to kind of see Eren as and Eren's father, but by the bloodline, being the bad guy, and that she has to take this power back for her bloodline. But we're trying to be convinced as readers to buy into that all in one chapter in a couple pages. It felt a little off for the Historia character, right? And that big last page splash reveal, like, this is coming. This is coming back, right? So the injection happened, but it was a focus on the key that I was trying to get at there, right? As this key is going to come back into the play. But of course, things go wrong. And then, and so how that kicks off is that they both touch his back, right? They both touch his back, and somehow that becomes a conduit of knowledge or a trigger, especially for Eren. Eren has a flashback to the house, of course, the basement. Let me just do this in order. No, whose memories are these? So he gets this memory transfer, and that's where you get to this page that I just showed, right? The could it be? And then kablamo, you get that transformation, and he sees the key, and he sees a burnt down skeleton. So how do you remember your father's sin? And so you get the association that the father took the power, became a titan, but it's not the power. He shouldn't have had the power, but now it's like, why did he take the power? There's a whole other story that gets unveiled for us, right, for the next, I would say, 8 volumes, right, is where we start to investigate this and see how it all connects back to what his father was up to. And I don't know, it's going to be a lot more. There's gonna be more shenanigans than it seems on the surface, right? I've got the narrative connection between Hanji and Moblit, making the connection between the Rias family and the Walls, but we were already kind of assuming that along the way. The key piece being their potential control over the historical knowledge. So just they can wipe memories or manipulate people en masse with this Titan power. And this is also in the exposition that was given between Historia and Rod. And so Eren now knows about it, but now it's like this information was very expertly done, actually. Like it was revealed in different perspectives, because then when these people come together, the characters come together, it's like you don't have to do another exposition trade-off in order to sync people up. It's easy to do. You do one page, like this is what happened, and then some character tells the other character and we move on. But Hanji seems to put all these pieces together. She's like the detective of the Bruce Wayne, if you will, of this whole situation. And narrative momentum, if you need someone to kind of figure something out and move it on, it's going to either be Hanji or it's going to be Armin, right? Through some strategic unveiling or some revealing, which we do get that as well. Volume 16. It's a little bit more exposition than the handoff, but it's like, where do things go wrong? We get a history of Historia, and I always want to say Freya. I don't know why this is happening right now. Ymir. We do get this is the very beginning, right, of the volume, but the final potential or intent for manipulation, we get the history of the family itself, Reyes, and the stealing of the power. So that's I mean, that's a pretty nasty looking Titan, but it looks like Eren's father ends up taking it over. One of them ends up transforming in order to fight this, to battle this off and take the power back. It's pretty chaotic. It looks like it was a pretty epic fight. This was fun. This was fun to look at, but Papa wins and basically goes on a rampage and takes out the Rias family. So this is like the manipulation intent for hopefully the, you know, Historia to like flip on Eren and then eat him, and etc etc. Now I don't want to show this torture scene there, just I don't want to show it on YouTube, but there's a bit of a Walking Dead moment there, pretty raunchy kind of one-page scene of like a torture scene where it's like, did you need to do that? It's like you probably could have gone by without doing that, because we didn't really get a lead up to why exactly would be that. Obviously like deranged. This is the deranged behavior, even like you take out the higher ups and stuff like that, but why is your next step to go, we're just going to torture them with some like reverse eating system where you feed them through the bunk, you upside down, food in. I mean, I'm not even sure how it was supposed to work, but listen, it didn't need to happen. It didn't need to happen. Like, maybe they're doing a setup where it gets crazy with the character. I don't know why they would have needed to do that one. That was a little bit of a notch off the. It was one page, you know. I could have just gone by, but I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit out of place. That's all. And then moving on from there, I am looking at this now because this is where, yeah, the big moment of Eren's basically saying like, no, he deserves it. Like, take him out, eat him. Like, take the baton, Historia, and just do what you got to do because to save humanity. You know, like that's the big like the goal there, right? And then I am flipping through because this was a fun volume. This was almost a 5. This is where like the Survey Corps is going into this location underground. They know it's massive. We got this the anti-personnel squad here, right? Like all set up, ready for to ambush them, but they send down a rolling barrel with smoke and gas and bombs and blowing up, and so they kind of smoke screen themselves while flying flying all over the place to basically take out the personnel force, and clear the zone so that they can get to Eren. So that was fun. The first third of this was really fun. Is ebbs and flows with the drama, because then it's like ramped up and then it sort of slows down when it pivots back to Eren and Rod and Historia and you got to do this and blah 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 and inject your, like, put the needle in you, like do the thing, get the Titan power, eat Eren, take the power back, blah blah blah. And it's just like it's fun. We get a bit of a history there with Ackerman. We actually get the context of Ackerman, and that bloodline is important. So now we have some extra context around Mikasa's bloodline being important, etc etc etc. Big players on the field, you know, at the end of the day. And I did like learning about Kenny and his perspective here. It was an interesting twist. He's a bit of a wild card on the field. He's not necessarily evil for evil's sake. He's got his own purpose and reason for being who he is and how he acts and stuff like that. But yeah, he just wants the next move to happen. So he's about to bounce. He's gonna, you know, he just cuts Eren so that he can like provoke him to transform into a Titan and kind of move this thing forward and see what happens. And she's about to inject, and we're reaching the tail end here, and she pulls back. She doesn't want to do it because, you know, she had that moment with Eren, and it goes back that flashback of like, you know, she likes her when she's normal, and it was a bit of a comment there that says like she doesn't want to be in. She's fine with who she is, and she wants to change maybe the patterns of how everything has happened. Right, that was the exchange there with the being normal there, comes back and it kind of snaps her out of it because Eren's he's being bled, and so he can transform at any moment, but he doesn't. He's willing to accept fate as it is. But in any case, she doesn't go through with it, and then the father panics and laps up everything off the floor because he doesn't want it to go to waste. And well, we got a new Titan on the field. Historia tries to free Eren, and then he laps up, lap 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 lap, and then he turns into a crazy large Titan, smashes through the secret location, and then the Titan is on the loose, and the characters start to come back together. Let me look at my notes to make sure. I kind of went on the cuff there, but let me look at my notes and see if I've missed anything. Big point is that there was a transfer of information tied to Historia's past, the Rias family, the bloodline, the walls of the city, a reinforcement of the memory kind of control or rewrite kind of system, and that was a really nice fight. I really liked the way it could have been a 5. This volume could have been a 5. It was probably a 4.5 to be honest, but on Goodreads I can do a 4 or I can do a 5. And so for me it was like the bouncing back and forth. It was kind of like a bit of an imbalance with the way that the narrative and the exposition dropped on us, and both it's weird because it was both fast and slow. That's what I mean about the irregular pacing of it. it just felt a little bit off. But I like the moments. I like the reveal of stuff. I like the turnaround of the events. It was pretty epic. The entire thing, the fight. If that fight wasn't in there, like the fight between the anti-personnel squad and the Survey Corps, if that fight wasn't in there, this volume probably would have fallen flat. To be honest, even though there was that epic moment at the end with the transfer, like the final chapter was pretty epic. It was pretty epic. It was probably 5, but. Overall, probably a 4, just because I felt like I was being pulled in a couple different directions with where the momentum was going. And I wanted more time, maybe. I wanted more time with the Reese reveal and the new Titan kind of getting dropped on us. I just felt like I needed more time with that to be like a threat, like a real threat for the third Survey Corps, for the city. I mean, we're going to get a bit of that, city kind of risk and stuff in Volume 17. But yeah, we're going to move on to Volume 17. I'll talk about the covers after, because I just realized the covers are actually getting like significantly better. I would say, fine, I'll talk about it now. So volume 15, pretty simple cover. The anatomy of the face is still a little wonky, but it's just the contrast, the simplicity of this cover makes it stand out, and I gotta give it kudos for that. This one is also a really nice composition. The way that this flow happens like this, and the face. The skeleton face points to her, and she also does like a bit of a circle here, and so it does this really nice S-curve. Just compositionally, it's good. It puts the focus on the needle. Again, when you have like faces or face-like objects, eyes looking in a direction, our eyes tend to follow that sight line, and so you got this skull sight line coming to her. You got her eye sight line coming down here, and then you got the face kind of looping, like bringing us back around. So I really like the circular composition of this. So. Really good composition there. And then this one's just kind of like, it's more mundane, but I just like it. I like it. It's kind of calm. It's like almost a calm before the storm, maybe an ending. Volume 17 very much felt like the ending of a potential arc. I haven't looked this up, so I don't know, but it felt like the ending of an arc, and this felt like the start of an arc, just from a phase deconstruction perspective, and we'll talk about that when I get into it. But the whole farm thing is important. You don't know, like when you pick this up, you don't know the context of what this would imply, right? Why are they all on a farm? Well, you find it in this volume. This volume is all, again, it's very exposition-y to some degree, but the pacing is, again, an odd one with this one, because it starts off with like, oh crap, there's this massive Titan that's now going towards the city, and it's going to go into the most populated area because that's what they're attracted to. So it doesn't look like it's very smart. It looks like it's I was going to say aberration again. Abnormal. It's not abnormal, but it's a massive abnormal. It kind of drags his the front of his body on the ground, so you never really see the face. But when it kind of gets made, like when you kind of initially see it, it doesn't look like you see something's odd with it, with the way that it puts itself together. It's not like fully there. You get that revealed, like basically it's got no face. It's got no face skin. It's just kind of see inside. It's creepy. It's weird. It's awesome. It's massive. And I wish that it was more of a threat, is what I would say. So this got a 4 out of 5 for me, because this really felt like it could have been an entire volume of massive risks, stakes high, like make them super high. Like it gets to the wall, but they're all kind of, now they're experienced. They're ready for it. They got everything. Like they're just ready for it. They're seasoned now, if you will, right? And so they know what to do to confront something like this, but it's so big that the risk is of course that it's bigger than the colossal Titan, and if it does get over the wall, like they're screwed, And so the first third of this is it approaching the wall. The midway point is it getting to the wall, and I mean, just look at that. That's a nasty fucking. That's just a nasty design. Like the entire, like the rib cage just opens up. You can see inside it, but it's not really human anatomy, so it just looks like. It honestly looks like a massive mouth. Like the rib cage looks like teeth, and it looks like a gullet, like a massive Anyways, it's fun, it's epic, it's enormous. I mean, it's just so much fun. This midway point, like the fight and the execution was also very fun, and the way that Historia kind of does the killing blow of her father, effectively, right? Takes it out. She doesn't intend to. She's basically like, if I die trying, I forget who she tells. Was it Erwin? I'm pretty sure. She tells Eren, like, if I die trying, then just tell the people that it was me, so that you have the narrative opportunity to swing the city back around and put the victory on the Survey Corps and the bloodline having saved the day, so you can kind of use that to your own advantage. But she actually ends up pulling it off. She lands, the villagers see this, and it's like, now I'm your queen, And so it becomes an easier handoff for the citizens to accept that as their new reality, right? That the entire leadership of the villages are going to get swapped out. A Kenny and Levi backstory here, so we get to learn why and how Levi was taken in by Kenny, who was born to a mother that was that ended up dying, and then Kenny basically like pseudo adopts him, I guess, but teaches him how to survive, like the underground, right? And basically, as soon as he can defend himself in the underground, he knows that he's just gonna abandon him and let him like he knows like Levi would know enough to be able to move forward and survive on his own and be stronger for it. So I like how that kind of swings back around, but it happens in one chapter. It happens so fast. The reveal happens. The background happens. It's cool, but it immediately closes off the mystery that was around Kenny. Like, it's a rich backstory. It's really good. I just feel like the pacing of it was maybe a little bit off. I'm not sure. I was going to say I might be spoiling things. What am I talking about? Like, if people are watching this, you all know what happens next and what comes of it. And I thought it was just like a really cool way. It's somber the way that it ends. Levi kind of reaching Kenny, and it's just like the end moments are going to happen. He's met his doom during when the whole exodus happened of that secret underground area, but I feel like I missed something there. Like, I didn't see the story. How did this happen? Like, he got taken out, but it's like in the chaos of that event of the massive Titan kind of getting freed. I don't know, something happened to him, but I feel like right now I'm not remembering it, but I feel like when I was reading this, I was like, I don't know when this happened and how it happened. It happened. And so it starts. That's what I mean about the pacing of, like, I would say like the last third of this, maybe the last half to the last third. They're just closing things off. Like the Kenny thing gets closed off. I'm like, but we just got introduced to this cool ass character, and he didn't even die in an epic fashion. Maybe that's part of the story, right? Though, is that we get this. It's kind of like Hajime doesn't do what we would expect, and that's actually a good thing. Even though I'm kind of like dinging it, I'm not dinging it and making it a 2 or 3 star. It's still a 4.5 star book. I made it a 4. I rounded down, right? But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's almost like I like it for how it does that, but at the same time, I'm like, I wanted more. It's subjective, because we flip the page and we immediately get this, hey, Historia, now you're getting crowned and now you're the queen. And then bam, the next chapter is like, okay, now you're on the farm. She gets all these orphans, right? And she puts them all on the farm because that's her history. That's where she comes from. And she wants to give these orphans a good life. And she's like directly associated, not just as queen, like serving the people, but she's offering something more to the walled cities, and that elevates her persona. They have this new weapon, this guillotine-esque kind of contraption, because they can kind of control the whole hardening with Eren, that they can build these extra walls and gutters, I suppose, where the Titans start to like force their way through. Then this guillotine comes down and chops them off. So like, they're not even using people now to defend their walls. They have basically trust, like they have the discourse effectively completely under control, And then we do have the internal exchange of like, there's a lead-in, there's a seed of where they got to go to next. There's these serums. The serums are, if they get exposed to air, they will disappear right away. But for all intents and purposes, the power is in this Titan serum that they got to do something with. They can do something with it. So yeah, I would say because of the Ackerman flashback, that was really nice. Even though I wanted more, I'd probably put that as a 5. It was intriguing. I liked the way it swung back around. The pacing back and forth. Maybe it was like too many perspectives going on, and those perspectives were all telling very different narratives. And so there was the cohesiveness of the back and forth between characters wasn't always there. We were just kind of closing things off. And so I'm not. So yeah, it would be a 4.5, but I'm going to give it a 4. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed the moments, but as a volume, the story in this, like cover to cover, there were very cool moments and I enjoyed them. But as a volume, the story of it didn't hold together as a cohesive story. If that makes sense, it felt like snapshots of events and everything was moving forward very fast. And again, maybe that's a midway point where the mangaka is like, we got to get to the tail end of the story, which would be the phase 3 of the entire series. Does the mangaka already know this is going to end on volume 34? I don't know, but it feels like the pacing of the storytelling tells me possibly, very, very possibly. Because at this point, volume 17, Historia becoming the queen, you go, okay, well, how does this go wrong, right? You have the success now, you have the queen of the city, but now something needs to go wrong. And the way the volume 17 ends too, it has this moment here, which is kind of crazy. So you got the Beast Titan, I guess, taking out Reiner, which is the Armor Titan. And I mean, I'm seeing flesh under that armor. So that Beast Titan, from the looks of it here, smashed through the armor. I'm not sure, man. But that's sort of just the cliffhanger moment. So crazy, man. It's so crazy. They're just having this mundane talk of like what next steps they got to take, and you get to a page like this and you're like, oh my god. Okay. So the cliffhangers are pretty good. I will say they always do make you want to immediately read the next volume. So we have the Beast Titan here. We have Bertolt, I would imagine, screaming Reiner. So it looks like they've gotten intercepted by the Beast Titan, and that armor does not look like it's on Reiner anymore. Looks like it's been shattered. That's how tough the Beast Titan is. And we get this right here, which is the crazy part. It's like Beast Titan kind of talking, and then bam! Who? What? How? What? Looks like Snake, actually. But anyways, we get Grissa. I mean, it's just crazy. At one point, I was thinking that, I mean, I'm assuming this is Grissa. I'm assuming this is the father. I'm assuming it's the father. I kind of need to go. I need to open volume 18 again. It's only last week, but let me reread these last pages here. So the big reveal here is... Yeah, so Bertolt pulls Reiner out of the form, and then the Beast Titan says, I won. You can worry about saving Anne later. So they're aware. I mean, they're of the same group. It's just like, what took out the Armored Titan? I don't have the context because we literally flip the page and it's just the Armored Titan's destroyed. Anyways, pulls him out. It's the Beast Titan. No, you think it's the Beast Titan talking, but there's a shadow form on the shoulders there. And it says, don't you know you should be trying to retake the coordinate? Wait here and they'll show up after all. And then we get the reveal. Bam, bam, bam. I had a suspicion that Grisha was the Beast Titan. The intelligence, the speaking, the throwing, the strategy. It was something like that. But how did it become the Beast Titan? We got evidence that... Because in the flashbacks, he wasn't turning into the Beast Titan. So I'm not sure how that connects. But in any case, they seem connected. They seem to be aligned. And that's the cliffhanger. The coordinates. What's the coordinates, though? I don't think I got the context of what the coordinates are. But that's like a keyword that stood out to me. It wouldn't be the basement. Because Grisha told Eren to get to the basement eventually. Like, here's a key. It was obviously for Eren to get to the basement. So the coordinates are something else. I would imagine it's like where their hometown is maybe the coordinates. Like, get to some location, like a regroup for these Titans that are not from the city, from outside the city, that kind of idea. And so that takes us to volume 18. And the cover here is still okay. It's still okay. It's getting a little bit, it's more mundane, but it's okay. Up on the wall, looking out, it's going to be a restart of the narrative of a new arc, I would imagine. 4 chapters as well. We have the reveal here of, well, not reveal, but... Oh, wait, they don't say the name? That's the father, man. That's got to be the father, no? It looks like... It's got glasses. It's got a beard. I mean, I'm actually second-guessing myself. Now that I saw it here, I was like, I could swear. That's what I took away. I'm going to move on. Let's flip through this real quick. So they go to Instructor Shadis again, and Sasser's still got memories of getting headbutted, so... That was just a funny little character moment. Anyways, they get a bit of a history of Shadis and what he remembers from the past. Through Shadis, we get basically the history of Grisha, Eren's father, along the way, how he connects. Basically, that he came from the outside, met someone, I guess they're the barmaid, the waitress, ended up having a family on the inside. Through these flashbacks, we effectively get the context of how Eren loops back into this. He's already great because he was born into this world 3 years earlier. Those eyes, it's just like his father wanted. His life is like a blazing fire, and I'm sure that fire will burn him to ashes outside the walls. I'm not sure if that's like a hint at something. He'll never know what his mother wanted for him. This place is not for you. Live your life as you truly are. I actually really enjoyed that scene right there with the whole learning of this. And he had a faulty harness and was able to still hold himself together. But in the end, I was nothing more than a bystander after all. I've always been powerless to change anything, and that's how it ends. So we just get the context of why Eren has to get looped back into the story. This is going to be a kickoff to the second half of the series, right? So we're in that phase 3 arc. Greater power, greater responsibility, greater confidence. If I tag that to Eren in the next 8 volumes, we're going to have to get his evolution down that track, right? Like, the higher stakes are now upon him. And now he's got to get a hold, like he's already got more of a hold on his powers, the whole hardening up and stuff like that. But it's also like coming to terms with his past, which is something that Eren still regrets. He goes very emo when it comes to things like this. Maybe too much. Maybe that's where I take some points off, is when I get too much redundancy with Eren's self-confidence. I know that's part of a character trait, but it's been for a long time, you know, and I don't know if they're going to explain why that happens, but it's something he has to get a hold on, and it does give that narrative arc makes sense when you spread this across 34 volumes, maybe. But I just feel like at this point he's got to get a better hold of himself because it gets redundant. And as flipping through here, we get some more context with some leaders behind the scenes, Eren and Hanji and all that stuff, like kind of talking about the next steps. And Levi is saying that he's gonna, kill Arwen. Like basically, don't go into the fight. You got one arm. Like there's no point in doing this. But this Eren's ambition is to see this thing through, right? To see this last kind of push through. And if that's gonna kill him, then that's gonna kill him because that's his life intent. Anyways, I like the exchange there. This feels like a little bit of a flashback and just like getting things back to, hey, remember how this all started? There's even the cafeteria fight that happens between Jean and Eren, but now no one's really stepping in to stop them. They just let them fight it out because it's just whatever until Levi comes around and like ends the fight, knocks them both out. But poor Sasha, she starts salivating over the meat and like a ravaged dog. So they tie her up. I'm like, did she get any meat? The only thing I kept thinking was like, did you feed Sasha? Did you feed Sasha? I'm derailing. Has nothing. I'm getting stuck on moments instead of moving on. But this is phase 2 of the volume. But I mean, why I'm getting stuck here is because a bit of that reflection on where this all started, right? Because they're even going back to, hey, remember when we all just like had normal lives and just did our thing, and we talked about like exploring beyond the walls. That's a bit of a setup, this is a setup for like where this goes next, right? The macro level plot of it all, because I've been mentioning like the importance of books, especially Eren's perspective on like the dream is beyond the wall, and there's like the water with salt, like endless salts, amounts of salt, or the snow, or whatever the lines are, right? And that comes back up, except this time we have an extra piece here where Levi is eavesdropping on all this. So what does it mean? I don't know, but he is connected now into that narrative exploration, what's beyond the wall. Like, let's push beyond this, and I feel like that's going to be the next 8 volumes is probably going to start unlocking some of this, like where the other, my nose is starting to go. Well, it's taking a little longer this time around, so that's kind of the good benefit of doing these reviews this way, or these vlogs. They're not even reviews, they're a bit of everything. It's my opinions, my spotlighting, my reviews along the way, right? Narrative deconstruction along the way where I can remember. But anyways, big fight's about to happen, and at this point they of course charge as they are wont to do. That ends that chapter, and I'm getting a bit of a mind blank at this point. So we have inside the city, we get an Eren flashback. Again, this is still going back to those moments. It's like it's a recap. It's like a recap moment because it's going to now push us into a new direction, right? Because it even goes back to the first fight, right? Mikasa takes out the Titan, Eren saving Armin, being in the gullet, and this is them trying to get to the basement, right? This is the kickoff of the quest, if you will, or at least it's the initial point of the kickoff of the quest. I feel like there's still going to be some quest elements, the kind of Act 1 scenario, right? The first 2 volumes, so this volume and volume 19 are like still going to have the pieces of like what's the actual ambition, what's the goal. This is the framing of the Act 1, right? It's all the historical stuff, the reminding us about all these character moments in the past that are going to come back up. But I'm going to speculate volume 19 is where we're going to get the actual quest, like the actual next step that Eren needs to take as the quest, whereas this one is more like it's the idea of it, but generally there's a bit of a rejection from the protagonist, from the hero, before they accept the next step in the quest, right? You have that with Eren's personality, but he's definitely getting back to the point of like, all these flashbacks, remembering all those moments, like Armin asking him like, well, you weren't afraid at that moment when you reached into a Titan's mouth and pulled me out, but then he's apprehensive. In other regards, he's apprehensive, I have that flashback here as a kid again, looking up at the sky. I feel like that's important because that's how the first chapter sort of opens up. That's going to come back around. More comments about beasts and birds comes up and cages. That's a reminder too for us to take away, I'm sure. And so they're navigating these forests in the dark and the night, and all the Titans, they do stumble upon a Titan, but it's kind of not sleeping. It's just kind of like, meh. It's like they get solar powered, and when the sun's not out, it's like the more, I guess, abnormal they are, the less empowered, the more, I don't know, they don't preserve the energy long enough to be really active. We got that from some of the Hanji like tests along the way, right? Like we know they lose energy and stuff like that. Oh yeah, my nose is starting to go. So 45-minute mark, 50-minute mark, that's not bad. You'll probably get a shorter cut. They're at the wall, they're at the part that got taken out, right? And now they got to get to the other side, or they got to get to Eren's house. But it's basically like these flashbacks of like, oh man, like there's like a wreck now. This place has been abandoned for a while, So they got to work their way through. They got to plug up the hole. Eren's got to kick off that whole hardening ability. This is a kind of creepy moment. It's like, and it kind of comes up. At first, when I saw that, I was like, so they're in the wall looking out? Or where's Bertolt? What's going on? Because they're looking for them. They're like, something's got to be here. Like Armin finds like the fire or whatever, right? And there's like the tea, or he's it's cool enough to say that they didn't leave right away, is that they were already preparing. They knew they were coming, and then they bounced, you know. You got Eren on one side doing the whole swing to then close off that gap, right, so that no more Titans can get through. We got Armin leading a crew in order to find out where the heck, like, what's going on here and where might the opposition be. So we get him in his kind of first really leadership command perspective. He's not a command, but like we have like that. It feels like that's where Armin's set to be, right? He's a strategic thinker. He's supposed to be on the field and he's supposed to be leading people, and like people trust his ideas. You know, they might be a little bit loopy sometimes or like come out of nowhere, but he tends to be the person who like puts the pieces together on the field, whereas Hanji tends to put things together outside of the field. Armin puts them together inside the field. I'm about to lose my voice. I can feel it. My voice is about to crack. And this is where he calls out, like, they're in the walls. And so away they go. Basically search all the pieces in the wall to see if there's any weak points. And they do discover a weak point. And bam, we got some people hiding in here. This was rough. Really didn't anticipate this. We got Reiner hiding in the walls. And as soon as he pops out of the walls, blade to the back of the neck. I mean, or through the neck in any case. I mean, it's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. Levi is not waiting, but it's kind of weird because he lands, but then he makes this comment, "I was so close." Is that another one of his Titan powers? So was he able to basically harden up internally? They didn't. I don't. Either I missed it or they weren't explicit about it. But I don't know if it's that he couldn't cut off his head because maybe the Titan power like hardened the blade inside his neck, so he couldn't get the full cut to the spine. I'm not sure, man. I don't think he dies, and he does do the so transformed. Yeah. So he makes it, and then they point out to the distance, and of course, climax moment here. We got the Beast Titan, along with a bunch of abnormals, and of course, the thrower. The thrower. It's like a look at that. That's crazy. Here comes the cannonball. It's like throwing It's like throwing your own poop. Good job, monkey, throwing your own poop. It's a boulder. It's not poop. Listen, that's what it reminded me of, okay? Anyways, and then, of course, we got the final scene. Things about to go down. Change is we're both getting the battle we've been hoping for. Let's put an end to this here. Humanity, or those damn Titans. One of us will survive, and the other will die. That's it. That's a kickoff of we got silly Billy stuff. So creepy, poor Armin. Anyways, that's not legit. So that's the wrap of that one. I could have maybe done it as the arc, you know what I mean, if I knew where I was. Part of me is like, I'm afraid to look this up because I don't want to be spoiled, because the arc titles themselves might spoil or give me an idea of where things are going to be, and I kind of want to go at these blind still, even though I'm doing these a little bit more off the cuff and shorter, and maybe in these bulk fashions, so that I can get through the series faster. I can read 4 volumes, then kind of sit down for an hour and talk my way through this stuff, because again, from a YouTube algorithmic perspective, the numbers have dropped off, and it doesn't look like that the recommendation system is working to pull people back in. Or maybe like it gets halfway through the series and people just they're less interested in manga reads. I'm not sure. Manga reads in general are not doing very well on YouTube anymore. I've been fighting it, but I do need to be realistic about things. I can probably still achieve close to the same vibe, hopefully, by talking through things like this and just having a vlog about it as opposed to a read, you know. This would have taken me 4 hours to record and then 4 hours, if not 6 hours, to edit, and I was able to do this with, you know, casually reading this like at night. I just read through a couple volumes, and then I record this for an hour. It's probably gonna take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to edit, and then we get it out the door, and that's 4 volumes and, like, I don't know, 75% less time, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna get through the series in May. So we'll see how the numbers still do. You know, it's fine. Some people aren't going to be interested in a new format, and they're going to drop off because that's not what they signed up for. I totally jive with that. Like, I'm cool with that. But I do want to read more, and I want to talk more about stuff as opposed to producing stuff and not reading as much that I can talk about. Does that sentence make sense? Like, I just want to read a lot more stuff, both manga and novels and audiobooks. I just want to consume more stuff, and I feel like I'm getting into a trap along the way. And I love the exchanges with people who are also excited about these properties, you know. And I feel like we could still have that banter in the comments along the way for those who are interested and stumble upon this. Yeah, welcome aboard. And I'm on the weekend right now, and I'm probably going to read the next 4 volumes either today or tomorrow, or a combination of both. And I'll record another volume with possibly 4 volumes each way because it'll make it easier for me to do the thumbnail. That's it. And with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. I'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.